The 2010s were the best era for the gaming world, releasing banger games after banger games on the PS3 and Xbox 360. I'm talking about games like the Bioshock series, Dishonored, Lego Batman and even more. But the question is, was this the same to one of the biggest gaming company in that time period? I'm talking about Ubisoft, that released a bunch of games that people talk about to this day. Today I'm gonna talk and rate the Kenway and Naval era Assassin's Creed, so let's get into it. By the name, the third entry, but in reality the fifth one is Assassin's Creed 3, and it was released on the new gen consoles and eventually got remastered too. I have to agree a lot of people when they say Connor, the main character, was boring, considering he came after Ezio in the series, and yeah, if you only play the main story, he's really lackluster and average person with high physical capabilities, and not that attractive and charismatic of a character that we had before. But it's really not like that if you do the homestead missions, where I started connecting with him and his character and personality, and I think it can be blamed because of the poor execution, that Connor's personality doesn't shine as much in the main story and it shines more in the side quests, because there he is pretty entertaining and has a really interesting character to talk about. So I didn't play the old version of this game. That's why I'm gonna talk about the remastered, because yeah, I only played that and I had two playthroughs, one years ago and one not that long ago. And one of the most annoying things is that how late we play with Connor. I know that everybody who did a review about this game at least mentioned this once or more, but it needs to be mentioned again, so Ubisoft won't make the same mistake again, hopefully. And don't take it wrong, I like the time we spent with his father, Haytham, but to be able to play the actual main character, it was a wrong idea to put him back behind a playtime wall. The very least amount of time you need to spend to reach him is at least 3 to 5 hours in the main story. Of course you are playing with him before that amount of time, but it's not like you are an assassin. If you want to play as Assassin Connor, then you need that 3 or 5 hours. And if you play like I did, then it will take more. I think I achieved him in 8 hours, because I did a lot of side content. Next problem in the game for me is probably that a lot of Templars are forgettable. Like, apart from Charles, Thomas, Hickey and Haytham, I don't really remember anyone. If I wouldn't have played the game again from the start to the end, I wouldn't even know these characters other than Haytham and Charles. And some of the missions are really boring, especially the Kid Connor ones, and even out of that, the hide and seek, oh my god, that was really bad. I never want to play it again. I think the idea of the game was a bit too high. They couldn't meet the expectations by making it. Or maybe it could have worked in a different style, maybe the RPG style would have worked better here. But there is a big thing here that I can say. Apart from everything I say, the game shines in the gameplay. It feels more fluid, smoother and exciting with all the new features, new animations. We have kind of a new combat type system. I like the attack-counter combats, and I think with the newly added things like gunshot block with an enemy or the double counters gives a fresh feeling to the game. The parkour animations are smoother, and although I'm not a big fan of the tree parkour, I do find it fun when it goes smoothly. And the house transitions are great. Where the game really shines for me is the side content. I find it the best in this era and from the last era of AC games. I'm talking about the first 4 AC games and then the next 2 that comes after AC 3. Same with the side quests. I don't know how to explain it, but they feel incredible, making me want to play the side content more than the actual story. I want to give it a 7 out of 10 rating, because everything I mentioned negates each other. The story what takes the rating down so much, except the Haytham part, the first 3 segments actually feels like it has something to the story and isn't boring. But the rest, until you reach Adult Connor, it feels like a boring simulator game. The newly remade game for the current era of consoles, AC4 Resynced, seems interesting, but sadly I couldn't play it yet, and I only played the old version, so that's what we're gonna talk about. I see people talk about this game left and right, saying it's the best game in the whole franchise and saying it's a good game but not as much as the other entries, and even people who say it's actually a bad game. Personally, I feel the same as the middle one. It is a good game, it's better than what we got in AC3, but I don't have the same love to it that a lot of other people do. The ship combat was a bit messy for me, and became boring fast, but I see why people like it. I would say it's just not for me. The vibe of the game is probably the best so far. It really catches the pirate and later the assassin vibes. The story is better and faster paced, kinda, which I think is pretty good for the game, and also, the story feels like interesting. We had a really good character development with Edward, and at the end seeing him with his daughter and solving the problem, what he did, was incredible. The story was emotional considering what we had in the last game, and it's just significantly better than the last two. I'm talking about AC Revelations and AC3. The side content didn't really change too much, it's still solid. This game has incredible side characters which actually makes the game more alive. The only thing I find a bit bad in the story is the multiple antagonists. I think this game would have benefited more without the Isu Seer being this big of a villain, and the things that Robbers did was predictable. What I mean by that is that it was pretty obvious that he will backstab us and we're gonna be fucked in the story. Although I say this, the story is still good, but I see things that I think would have made it better. Coming back to the ship combat and traversal, as I said, the ship combat was a bit messy for me. Maybe on PC it's better, but on a controller it felt bad, not that refined with the controls. Of course that can be only my problem, because I always played this game on PC with a controller. And the traversal on the other hand was fine. I can't say too many things about it because I think it's not really upgradable. The shanties were great, I'm happy that they added them, and that it was kind of realistic with how slow we would actually travel in a ship, considering it's a game, because ships aren't as fast as a lot of people would think. The enemy ships weren't too hard to beat, although I feel like grinding the ship upgrades were a bit tedious for me, but also it gave life to the game again. It wasn't a game where there is an ocean and you just there alone with your ship. The game actually has life in it. The parkour and combat didn't really change anything. For some reason I feel like the stealth here is better than it was in AC3, and the setting is incredible, and it was a really good idea to put this game into Caribbean Sea. I didn't mention in AC3 the setting, America, but here I have to because I never thought that they could nail the Caribbean Sea so good, so much. Also, I'm gonna talk about the modern day here. I didn't talk about it so far because I planned a completely different video about it, but I have to mention some things here. The downgrade in the modern day since AC4 is really big. The last good modern day gameplay was in AC3. I don't know how they will make a comeback with it, but after AC4 and the next game it feels like they completely neglected the plan of modern day in AC game. Though I have to say this modern day has some fun aspects with the hackings. Although it doesn't feel much, I feel like this game has so much potential still, and I really hope when I play the restyling version it will blow my mind even more. And now coming to the rating. As I said, I'm one of those people who thinks this game is good but still not on the level of the earlier era, and I give it an 8 out of 10 rating because of that. Here we come with my favorite game, Assassin's Creed Rogue. Yeah, this is the last game of this era, this pirate, this Satan, this Connor Kids era, I don't know how to say it. What could we call this era? And I have bad news for those people who think this game is underrated, because it's not. At least for me, it's really not. So I won't go outright and say that this game objectively viewed is overrated, but with subjective view, I think this game is indeed overrated. It doesn't have any big new things to offer, and I think this feels like the Red Horse of the franchise. I don't know why I compared this game to a Red Horse, I don't even know what's the connection with it. Whatever, we go on. I actually think that how this game got released, it dealt more damage to it and the franchise too than it should have. I believe it had a 10-month or a year-long development, which is really small window to develop an actual game. And the problem with that is that this is a really good idea of a game for the story, and the whole game will have a really big chance to actually break some AC records. Another thing that's problematic is that they only brought here small changes, and most of them was actually worse for me. I can only compare it to AC Brotherhood and Revelations, and I rate both of those games good. I even said earlier one is the best game in the franchise for me. I'm talking about Brotherhood. But what's my problem with Rogue? It had the worst story in the entire franchise, when it had probably the best concept to it. I like the idea of turning into a Templar, but what almost everybody says who played most of the games, that the assassins did a 180 turn around and become what they aren't so far. This wouldn't be a problem since Arthur did the same thing in the first game, declining the Creed's idea. The thing that this game does wrong with that is that the assassins declined to Creed love until the end of the game, and I think the problem starts here. If they would have made the assassins to realize their problems, what they accidentally did wrong, sooner than they did in the story, and make it to work together for a short amount of time with the Templars, so they aren't doing the same exact problem what they did, would have been better. I hate how she never got the right treatment after the earthquake happened in Lisbon, and the assassins just altogether said fuck you. What could have been done better is that if we would have played a different main character, not Shay. Because I think Haytham would have been better for the story and for the whole idea. Don't take it wrong, I don't have a problem with Shay. His character is really interesting and I think he's actually funny. But I think a lot of people would rather play Haytham and learn about his story. I think there would have been two solutions for this. Either make a big switch in the assassins in the middle of the game and somehow make a good ending out of it, or completely neglect the idea that we betray the assassins and become a Templar and become Haytham, who becomes a Templar, betraying his father. But that's it for the story. We're gonna come to the gameplay. There isn't too many things that we can find that we didn't have in Black Flag. The ship combat is better, and the ship grind slightly better too, which I was a bit surprised. But the combat, stealth and everything else is pretty much the exact same. The newly added assassins that hunts Shay are fine for the first few hours, but after that it just becomes annoying. Constantly hearing the sound that they are close, looking at where they might come, and then they just randomly pop out and fucking jump on you. The side content was pretty much the same. The new things is actually what we had in Brotherhood. We had the camps which can be fun for the first couple of times. They are like the Brotherhood camps, Borgia camps, but combined with Far Cry and the other camps. But it's fun for the first couple of times. The shrapnel gun we get is probably the second best thing in this game what we have. And all of this feels so bad because this game has so much potential to it. If Ubisoft would have given it more time and don't rush this game, I think it would have been better than Black Flag. I had less fun with this game than I had with Assassin's Creed 1, which is a really bad thing for Rogue because I had too many annoying bugs in AC1. And I still had more fun with it than this one. And for that reason, I give AC Rogue a 4 out of 10 rating. And this is the worst one so far. In the next episode, we're gonna talk about the big downfall of Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed series. I hope you liked today's video. If you want to watch more content, then go look at the channel and you can find some more. And if you are there, give me a subscribe and like this video. Thank you for watching. Bye!